Reasons why you should not be Christian.
Hi, I'm a Christian, so why should I not be a Christian?
Christians believe that all obey the commands of Mary, even God himself.
Oh, really? Hang on, let me check. I must have missed that verse in the Bible. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in here.
Yeah, I know it's crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy if that's what we actually believed. But you know what really is crazy? Quoting a 15th century saint as though he were the final authority on all things Christian. Yeah, I looked him up. Saint Bernardine lived in the 15th century. He is nowhere close to the original Jesus.
Also, according to Thomas Aquinas,
Okay, yeah, so you're getting a little bit better, but Thomas Aquinas is still 13th century. Maybe bump it back a few more centuries to the 1st century when the New Testament was written, and then you'd have a case.
which is a Catholic saint, he says that all of the blessed martyrs and the saints and the beings of the members of Christ should be worshipped in all sincerity, and if you disagree with his opinion, you're not a Christian.
So even though Thomas Aquinas is a really important theologian for many Christians, he actually doesn't get the final say in who is and isn't a Christian. That's God. Romans 10:9 says, "Whoever confesses with your mouth and believes in your heart that Jesus is Lord will be saved." Second, I noticed that the quote you're using isn't actually from Thomas Aquinas. He is referencing another work. As far as I can tell, he doesn't think you're not a Christian if you don't follow what he believes. And even if that was what he believed, that's still a really heavy case of cherry picking. Quick question for you guys. Like, if you want to just attack all of Christianity, why don't you just quote this and not some theologian who came centuries and, even in this case, more than a millennia afterwards? Why not?
Well, if you're a Christian and you thought you're going to pray to God, well, guess what? You're not. You're going to go pray to Mother Mary instead.
So that is the Catechism of the Catholic Church that you are quoting, which is basically an encyclopedia of everything the Catholic Church believes, I think. Even though I'm not a Catholic, I do know that you're actually misrepresenting what Catholics believe here. So, Catholics have a theology that the saints are alive in heaven and can communicate or interact with our world in some way. And one of the ways that they can do that is they can pray to God even though they're up in heaven, and they can hear our prayers and bring them to the Father. So it's like me. They would argue it's kind of the equivalent of me going to my pastor and saying, "Hey, I've got something going on. Can you pray for me?" They can take those requests to a saint who's in heaven, and they can pray to God. Now, I don't agree with that, but that doesn't mean that these saints are somehow God.
This is not monotheism. This is polytheism.
But none of the sources you cited said that Mary's God. So how does that make it polytheistic? So let me get this straight. You set out with the goal to tell me why I shouldn't be a Christian anymore. But instead of going to my religious texts, you quote a 13th century theologian, a 15th century theologian, both of which whom you cherry-picked, and a 20th century work. Yeah, I'm going to stay a Christian. Thank you very much.